So you've read all the books and you've watched the clips. You've done the work and you've learned how to listen and how to validate and how to be supportive. You've stopped interrupting. You've gotten much better at showing up. And you may have even told yourself, I'm one of the good ones. And maybe you are. But even with all of that accounted for, you still don't feel chosen. Not deeply, not securely, not in the way that tells your nervous system you're safe here, you're seen. I mean, you still feel her hesitation, and you still feel like you're one wrong word away from losing it all. You still feel like you're performing in essence, and you very well might be. See, you've become someone who's worth choosing, but you still don't believe you, as you are, will ever be enough. And so you perform, and you perform well. But no matter how many points you score, you still feel like you're losing because you may very likely be so. And it's not because you're a bad man. It's not because you're broken. It's not because women don't know what they want. But perhaps it's because what you're offering isn't really you. It's perhaps the curated version of you, the optimized version of yourself, the nice guy with the script that's memorized, the emotionally intelligent one who's read the book Attached, a good book, by the way, and follows relationship therapists on Instagram. You know how to play the part, and you know how to act secure, but inside, you're still flinching, and you're still managing your image, and you're still adjusting yourself in micro movements every time she gets close. Because there's still a part of you that believes if she sees the real me, oh, she'll leave. And until that part is seen by you, no one else can love you either. Now, let me be honest for a sec. You don't want to be tolerated. You don't want to be handled, yes. You don't want to be respected just for being nice. What you want, I think, is to be chosen. You want to be felt. You want to be known in a way that makes someone's body soften when you enter the room. And you want the kind of connection that doesn't need performance, that doesn't rely on the ability to say the right thing at the right time. The kind that doesn't depend on holding back your anger or hiding your needs. But see, you can't have that kind of connection if the real you never enters the relationship. Here's the secret I don't think many really are talking about. Being chosen requires first being known. And being known requires actually being real. And being real requires risking rejection. And that's the part that many, including you, might be avoiding. Because being nice is safe, and being composed is safe, being useful is safe. But being real, that's terrifying. That's vulnerable. That's when the mask falls off. That's when you're no longer in control anymore. There's no more composure. And for most men, control has always felt much safer than connection. And so you perform, and you say the things that you're supposed to say, and you listen patiently, and you never raise your voice, and you never disagree, at least not too enthusiastically. You praise her dreams, and you offer your support, and you try to be good, right? But inside you're tired, not just of trying, but also of hiding. You're tired of offering 80% of yourself and still getting left. You're tired of being loved for a version of you that doesn't really actually exist. You're tired of never knowing if what she loves is really you or just a character that you're presenting and playing. And somewhere deep inside, you're afraid that the real you at the core is not lovable. And so you keep performing. And here's the reality. Performance may get you approval, but presence, that gets you connection. And if what you want is to be chosen, you can't keep hiding behind the performance, because no one can love what they don't actually feel. And if all she ever experiences is the version of you that you think that she wants, then even when she says, I love you, you'll never believe it. You'll always be wondering if she's talking to the mask that you're wearing or you. You'll always be second guessing her affection, and you'll always be fearing that if you stop being perfect in the way you're performing, that it will all disappear. And that's not love. That's survival. That's emotional starvation that's dressed up as selflessness. And let me get a little bit more clear here. Now let me say this as clear as I can. You're not being rejected because you're not enough. You're actually being rejected because you're not actually being real. And no one, not even the most emotionally available woman out there, can connect with a performance. It's not because she's avoidant. It's not because she's immature. However, it's because your presence, it doesn't feel trustworthy. It's not because of what you do, but it's because of what you're actually withholding. It might be your anger that you're withholding, or your grief, or your insecurity, your joy, your longing, a whole variety of things. Everything that you've tucked away for fear of being too much is encapsulated here. But what actually is too much? It's most likely the mask. And that's what she's pulling away from. It's not your pain, not your mess, not your truth, but the mask that you're wearing. See, she's not pulling away because you're flawed. She's pulling away because she can't find you. You're wearing that mask. You're wearing the performance. And she hears your words, but she can't feel your heart. And she sees your actions, but she does not know your truth. And she may sense that there's something missing, even if everything looks right on paper. And that's what makes her anxious. That's what makes her hesitate. That's what makes her doubt that connection, even when you're doing everything right. Because the real you, the one with the rough edges, the one with the unmet needs, the one with the unscripted emotions that just come out of nowhere, that you has not shown up yet. You've become so good at performing enough that in reality you've forgotten how to actually be known. And you've turned your emotional truth into a liability. And you've tucked away your anger behind kindness. And you've swallowed your sadness with the smile. And you've turned being good into this full-time job. But love isn't a reward for effort, is it? It's a response to one who's present. And if your presence is filtered or calculated or edited, then even if she chooses you, you're most likely not going to believe it, because deep down, you know that she didn't choose you. What she's choosing is just this presentation or this performance that you're putting on. And that will eat you alive. So let's call it what it is. I would say performing is a trauma response. It's the adaptation that you made when the real you wasn't feeling safe to come out, when your needs were shamed, when your anger was punished, when your softness was mocked, when your desire was labeled as too much. So in time you learned to be agreeable, not to take up too much space, and to only express what is acceptable, to keep people happy so that they won't leave. And it worked, kind of. See, you got through all these seasons, and you got the dates, perhaps, you got the attention, maybe you even got relationships. but you didn't get the connection. You didn't get to breathe. You didn't get to rest. You didn't get to feel seen in all your fullness. Because the version that you were in that relationship was not the real you. And this is why it always feels so fragile. Even when the relationships are good, they leave you anxious. This is probably why you constantly keep on checking yourself before you speak. And why you rehearse your vulnerability like it's a monologue. Or why even in love you feel alone. Because you're not really in relationship. Your mask is in the relationship. You're trying to connect through this layer of protection. But you see, the protection is actually blocking intimacy. It always blocks intimacy. No matter how emotionally intelligent your mask is that you're presenting, it's still creating distance because it's still not you. And she can feel that. Now here's the paradox. The paradox is this. The more you perform to be loved, the less love you'll ever believe is actually real that comes your way. Even when it comes, you're gonna doubt it. You're gonna analyze it. You're gonna keep one foot out the door, and you'll always be wondering, when is this gonna disappear? Because in your body, it doesn't feel like connection, does it? It feels like fraudulence. Because somewhere inside, you know that she's loving someone who isn't fully real. And the shame that you're experiencing will sabotage everything. Not because you're bad again, but because most likely you're scared. Scared of being found out. Scared of being too much. Scared of the possibility that love cannot exist without control. But control is not the same thing as safety, and performance is not the same thing as being present. And approval is not the same as actually being chosen. So let me ask you this. When was the last time that you let someone really see you? Not the curated version of you, not the helpful you, not the evolved emotionally articulate version of yourself, but the scared you, the messy you, the you that is raw, the version of you that trembles when touched, the one who still feels the pain of being 10 years old and unloved, the one who wants to scream but swallows that in silence, the one who worries that he'll never be enough. That version is the one who needs love. That version is the one you've been hiding. That version is the one that your mask was designed to protect. But that version is also the one that she's waiting to meet. It's not because she wants to fix you. I don't think so. It's not because either she wants your pain. But it's because without that truth, she cannot feel your depths. And without depth, love turns into a script. And connection becomes this performance. And no one can rest in that. I mean, you want her to feel safe, right? And you want to lead with integrity. And you want to create this container for real love in your connection. But none of that happens through performance. Instead, it happens through honesty. It happens through your commitment to wholeness. It happens when you stop protecting yourself from your own truth. See, you can't be chosen if you're hiding. And you can't be felt if you're filtered. And you can't receive love if you don't believe your real self actually deserves it. So, it's time to stop. Stop managing the moment. Stop trying to get it just right. Stop editing your tone or your hunger or your pain. Stop performing so that love can finally find you. There's this moment in every man's journey, I believe, when he finally realizes this. And that's that he's been working so hard to be loved that he forgot how to be real. And it usually hits quietly. Not necessarily in a breakup or in a dramatic rejection, but in the lonely silence after she says, "You're amazing, but I just don't feel the connection." And so he most likely sits there stunned, confused, or even angry. And he thinks, "I did everything right." And it still ended, and she still pulled away, and she still said that she couldn't feel something. And that's when the question finally pierces through. What if I did everything right and I still wasn't chosen? Is there a correlation? And the answer? Because what she felt was not actually you. She felt your effort, yes. She felt your steadiness, perhaps. She felt your intelligence. But what she did not feel was your heart. Because you've been operating from your head, from strategy, from survival, and you've been loving her from a distance. Even when your hands were on her skin. Even while you were still a mile away. Because on the inside, like I said, you're most likely afraid. Afraid of letting that wall fall. Afraid of what happens if you stop performing. Afraid that without the mask, you'll be abandoned. But here's the truth. The mask does not protect you. It doesn't protect you from abandonment. But what the mask does is it guarantees your abandonment. Because it keeps the most lovable parts of you just out of reach. The parts that actually feel, the parts that feel pain, the parts that express needs. And if you don't let those parts exist and come out to be seen, then the connection will always feel like you're chasing after the wind. I mean, think about this. How can someone love you if the real you never actually shows up? See, you can be impressive and you can be good and you can be everything that she said she wanted. But if you're not honest, you'll never be safe. And if you're not safe, she will never rest in your presence. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she can't. See, her nervous system is reading your presence. It's scanning your presence. And what it's feeling is this sense of dissonance. Your smile does not match your fear. Your words don't match your heart. And your "I'm okay" does not match the emptiness that she's sensing. And so if she can't name it, at least she can still feel it. And if your truth isn't in the room with you, then your love won't be there either. This is the pain I feel so many good men have been taught, that love is earned through effort, or through usefulness, or through not being like those other guys. But love is not a reward. Love is what flows when you're fully in the room. So when your body is present and when your truth is accessible, when your words aren't scripted and when your longing isn't edited, and when your voice isn't managed, we're starting somewhere now. See, here's the thing. The men who get chosen, these aren't the men who perform the best. No, I think these are the men who are actually willing to be known. Flaws and all, fear and all, like without the disguise, without the filter, without the mask. Because that kind of presence is the kind that actually creates safety. It's not perfection, but presence, right? So, question, how do you stop performing? Well, you start by being honest first with yourself. Name what you've been hiding. When you notice your smile is fake, call it out. When you track the moments when your kindness is really self-protection, take note. When you admit how often you're not really there, but you're just managing your image, that's intel. And then ask, what am I so afraid that she will see? The answer to this question is where your healing lives. Because the part of you that you're protecting, the part that needs love most, that's where it is. See, you don't need to destroy the mask in one day. I discourage that actually. But you do need to stop confusing it for identity. You do need to stop thinking it's the reason that anyone will actually stay. Because masks are built to get you through a season, but they're not built to let love in. See, eventually they suffocate you. They keep the parts of you that long to be held forever untouched. And they keep your emotions misunderstood indefinitely. And they keep your voice edited. And they keep your relationships in this hollow zone. So ask yourself, my dear listener, have you ever let someone love the version of you that you're most afraid to show? And if not, then you've never really been truly chosen yet. Not yet. See, you've been accepted and you've been appreciated most likely and respected, but chosen? That only happens when your truth is in the room with you. And the first person who needs to choose that truth is no one else but you. See, there's a kind of loneliness that's really hard to name. It's not about being single. It's not about being ghosted. It's not even about being rejected. But it's the loneliness of being loved for a version of you that was never real. So you smile and you nod and you hold space and you stay calm and do all these things. And she says, you're amazing. She says, I feel so safe with you. And she might even say, hey, you're everything that I wanted. However, you know deep down inside that you're still hiding. And so even in love, you feel alone because no one can actually touch the place inside of you that you've buried and suppressed. It's not because you don't want to. I want to acknowledge that. But it's because you're not going to let anyone that close. And maybe you don't even know how. But that's where this work really begins. Not with being more, or not with trying harder, not with trying to earn intimacy. However, it's done with telling the truth, telling your truth, telling the part of you that's been performing, identifying that, and recognizing how it goes even far back into childhood, the part that has learned that being good was safer than actually being real, the part that thought that niceness would be your salvation, the part that never got to believe that it could be loved without any strategy employed. That's the part that needs you, especially now. That's the part that's waiting to be chosen. And you see, there's no woman in the world that can give you that until you do that for yourself. So let this be your turning point, my dear listener. Not another script, not another technique, not another version of healing that just becomes another mask. But a return to you, to the unedited, untamed, unfiltered version of yourself that longs to be known fully. The part of you that trembles, the part that hungers, the part of you that wants to scream and say, I don't want to perform anymore. I just want to be held. That's not weakness. That's neediness. That's the gateway to connection. Because performance builds applause and presence builds trust. And trust is what really holds love in place. So, you want her to stay. You want her to be open. And you want her to choose you. Then, my dear fellow listener, you need to become someone who's home with himself first, someone who doesn't flinch at his own truth, someone who doesn't abandon himself just to be liked, someone who doesn't just use niceness to mask emptiness. Instead, being someone who doesn't disappear behind this role the moment that intimacy gets real. See, she doesn't need your performance. What she needs is your presence. And you need your presence first. Because here's the thing about being chosen. You will never believe love is real until it actually touches the part of you that most was afraid to show up in the first place. You'll never feel safe in a relationship if you're still hiding in the room. And you'll never feel seen if the real self that you have is never actually visible. You'll never feel chosen and wanted if your truth never arrives with you. And you can't blame her for pulling away if what she was trying to hold was just a mask that you were offering. So consider this invitation from me to you in this episode. Before you ask her to choose you, you need to choose your own truth. There's that invitation. Choose your own truth. Choose a part of you that's messy. Choose a part of you that's afraid. Choose the part of you that's not quite good enough, but it's real. See, that part does not know the right words perhaps, but it still wants to be heard. Because until you bring him into the relationship, well, you'll always feel alone, even when someone's lying next to you. But once that part of you is present, once you let the real you be known, even silence will feel so intimate. Even conflict will feel safe. Even ordinary moments will most likely feel like home. This is what it means to stop performing. You stop rehearsing the lines that you've been reciting. You stop managing her perception. You stop filtering your love through fear. And you don't try to be impressive anymore. Instead, you are committed to being honest. And in that honesty, you stop begging to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. You've chosen yourself in a full way, in a tender way, without any conditions, convictionally. And when someone loves you, at least from that space, you're not going to doubt it anymore. You're not going to shrink underneath it, and you won't try to sabotage it. But instead, you're going to know this love isn't for who I'm pretending to be. It's actually for the real version of me. And that's the kind of love that lasts deeply. I hope this has served you well, my dear listener. I'd love to hear your experiences down in the comments. Would you share them with me? Let me know what your thoughts are.